definition. So big breaking news coming in. Whether or not we will see peace talks head towards something definite by end May, something that we're looking out for?
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for having this opportunity to speak and for you coming together. 8 years of war of Russia against Ukraine. This is the 20th day of the full-fledged invasion that doesn't need any additional detail. On the daily basis, we have same news about shelling, about cruise missiles, about destroyed houses and thousands of people left without shelter. You understand 100% the level of threat that we're dealing with today. You understand what we are defending from. I can't say from whom we are defending ourselves, because I don't even consider them human beings. They're like beasts. And I'm grateful for the support that Ukraine is getting at these times. Our people will always remember who have come to help us during these most difficult times. I would like to present my vision today on how we could stop the aggression, how we can stop that war, how can we reach the peace and to Europe and provide guarantees to the world and to the humanity. In the place of the old security instruments, I think Russian invasion has destroyed all the security infrastructure and international infrastructure. Yeah. The way of the organization that we all relied on and international conventions were undermined, and the strongest alliance in the world, NATO, which seems, or some of the members of these alliance are hypnotized by Russian aggression. We hear a lot of conversations about the Third World War, that allegedly it could start if NATO will close the Ukrainian sky for Russian missiles and planes, and therefore the humanitarian no-fly zone was not yet established. That allows Russian army to bombard peaceful cities and blow up housing blocks and hospitals and schools. 4 multi-storied buildings in Kyiv in the early morning were bombarded, dozens of dead. So they're shelling the schools and universities. Of course, Ukraine is not the NATO member. We understand that. We are quite adequate regarding our understanding. We have heard for many years about the open doors, but we also heard that we can't enter those doors. And this is truth, and we have simply to accept it as it is. And I'm glad that our people already have come to that understanding. We count on ourselves and on the partners who are helping us bilaterally. Ukraine is not counting on triggering Article 5, and we keep reminding that we need to protect our sky just like the NATO sky. But we understand there are always these buts. So what would be the response of the alliance in the West when these countries will come and ask for support and defense if, God forbid, Russian cruise missiles and jet fighters will attack them 20 kilometers from the border in Lviv Oblast? Was already cruise missiles of Russia, Russian drones were already hit down on the NATO territories. I think that the NATO alliance will not be afraid to trigger Article 5. There will not be this self-imposed hypnosis regarding a Third World War. We have proposed the way of allowing Ukraine to protect our skies and our people, to protect it on our own. We understand that we're not part of the alliance. We're talking about protecting ourselves single-handedly, and I want everyone to hear this, and especially those countries who have borders on Russia should think about their independent defense capabilities. We are doing our best to get the jet fighters and the missile defense system. So we need some new format. If we cannot enter the open doors, then we have to cooperate with platforms and unions that allow us to do so. The ones that will help us protect ourselves, for example, with your platform. And we would like to also have individual guarantees. We want to have a reliable guarantees that would work for us and therefore for you. Russian propagandists, they keep repeating that the Ukrainian war is only the beginning, and the Kremlin people are saying this. They're saying there will be other moments, as they say, they are fear-mongering and saying there are other European countries will come. They're saying this now, and they're mentioning many of you, those who are listening to me right now. They are saying this after the sanctions have already been imposed, when the world shows solidarity in condemning Russian aggression. So sanctions are not enough, although we're very grateful for that. So the aggressive plans of Russia has not yet collapsed, and it is understandable why, because the world is silent after 2 nuclear power plants were captured. We're just hearing words, and that's not enough. They've shelled the biggest NPP in Europe. They've put under jeopardy Chernobyl nuclear power plant. They have the storage for the disposed nuclear fuel as well, and that's very dangerous. And what was the response? We think none. Many international companies have not yet withdrawn from the Russian market, although severe sanctions were introduced, and you know these brand names very well. We know more about this because we have war here going on the daily basis, and we keep track of this, and we keep track of how this works, because it's important how powerful sanctions that were introduced by you and other countries, how they work in reality. Some countries said that they would leave, but in fact they are only waiting for this to finish and how this will finish and when they will be able to come back to the Russian market. They don't care about 97 kids. 97 kids were killed so far, and the Nestle continues to trade. They don't count how many cities were destroyed by the ultra-elite. Philip Morris continues to make money in Russia. They don't care about more than 800 missiles. This is officially that hit Ukrainian target. Raiffeisen Bank and other banks are wiring money, which are all covered with blood. And those who have left Russian markets, there are some companies amongst them who are not even firing anyone. We have those numbers. They don't lay off their staff. They just pretend to be observing the sanctions. And what that speaks to, this is a delusion. This is the deceit, in a way. The same like with the closed sky, because it's difficult to say who can help us with this, and I don't see and I don't hear where that can come from. So we don't have any mechanism of influencing those corporations. So they ignore what the international committee has decided. We can't do anything, and this is at the time of the most horrific war since World War II, and this has to be done now before Russia advanced further on. The sanction policy should be such that no one could even think about any advance of the war, and that's not even about Russia, it's about future. What else can happen? There has to be prohibition for the Russian Navy to use the naval ports of the world. We have to disconnect the Russian banks from SWIFT completely. We have to acknowledge Russia as a rough state, and there has to be a trade embargo with Russia. This is something that we need and something that you need as well, just like the rest of the world, to make sure that there is peace in Europe and Ukraine. I'm grateful to Great Britain and personally to Prime Minister Boris Johnson.
All right, so there you have the Ukrainian president addressing the Joint Expeditionary Force meeting in London and making some very important points, of course, highlighting the fact that all the nations need to now defend their respective territories, especially nations that are sharing a border with Russia. Also hinting at the fact, of course, once again reiterating how Ukraine is fighting for its motherland, how it continues to defend its territory and is perhaps standing alone at this point in time. So Zelenskyy saying that we want to have reliable guarantees, talking about the conditions that it will be putting forth in